I've been an environmentalist all my life, without any question or doubt. I can honestly say a tree is the first thing I ever drew. In fact, it was a birch tree. I remember drawing, I was obsessed as a child with drawing birch trees. I spent an inordinate amount of time in trees. I would sit in them for hours. I didn't climb up into the really high upper branches. I had a little bit of a fear of height, but I loved being in trees. And so I had a lot of time as a child, viscerally in touch with bark and the way branches are created and the leaves and the smells and the textures and how they grow. And I think, then later on, I went to school for forestry and natural resources. And then actually I went into woodworking, which is kind of I don't know if I stayed with wood. And then eventually transitioned into a fine art career. Anybody who looks at my paintings, probably 90 to 95% of them, it's pretty obvious there's some strange things involved. When I moved to Maine, that's when I began painting and drawing again. And one day I went outside, I took 2 sawhorses, went outside, set up a board and started painting outside. And I got a little frustrated. I was originally kind of using some brushes, but I was frustrated because there was just something missing. There was an element of uniqueness missing. And so because I was out back where the forest was, I looked around and I was like, I wonder, and I was looking at the leaves and the pine boughs and so forth, and I thought to myself, okay, well, all right, I'll give it a try. And I went over and I pulled off some pine boughs off of the trees and some leaves, and I began like fussing around and dipping them in the paint and brushing paint onto them. And then I just kind of grabbed a leaf that I dipped in paint and whacked it on the surface and then tamped it with a rag and so forth. And I had the aha moment of, oh, that's what's missing. It's the kind of like, nothing looks like a leaf. And, it's a drag, splatter, and tamp kind of a whap type impression. And that worked out as well. And the rest, as they say, is history. I just kept working at it and working at it and working at it because I knew the minute I did it, I said, that's it. That's the look that I want, that makes you feel like, wow, I'm there. After that, it was a process of working out how to make it look like a kind of abstract realism feeling, which is that's the way I describe my work, is abstract realism, because it sounds like a contradiction of terms at first, but the way I'm laying it down is kind of an abstraction. What I'm really trying to achieve is I don't paint what you see when you look at trees. I paint what you remember in your mind's eye when you walk away. When you close your eyes after you've just gone for a forest walk or whatever, and you're walking away and you remember that walk you had through the forest that morning or that evening or whatever. You don't remember the details, but you remember the pine boughs dipping down and the veins of the maple leaves as you pass by and kind of push them a little bit out of the way. Those things, that's the impression I was trying to give people, is to, in their mind's eye, bring them back to where they just were. And the way you do that is with the impact of the branches and leaves and themselves. And I do the same thing when I paint with wildflower gardens. I use the plants. As much as I possibly can, I use the plants. I like to make people feel present in my work. So when they're standing in front of it, they feel like there's a synesthesia kind of feeling, almost like they can smell the leaves. And in that particular painting, Autumn's Gate, I probably used, 200, 300 leaves to create that painting. But I tried to make it as high an impact a painting as possible so that people felt like they were actually in the maple tree itself almost. The painting itself is intended to be, in the naming of it, Autumn's Gate, that the mid-September, late September feeling when the leaves are just turning and you're getting that kind of ambiance in the air and you're starting to get excited that the warm days and cool breezes are coming, and that's what that painting is about. It's about really the anticipation of autumn. And Morning Blue is a blueberries painting, and Maine blueberries are smaller than the one most people buy in stores, but they're always deliciously sweet. And my wife and I love to go blueberry picking. So that's what inspired the blueberry painting, was one of those picking expeditions where I was on the ground taking pictures of blueberries, looking up at the sky underneath the plants and looking down into the blueberries from the, above, and getting as many different angles as I could so that when I painted it finally, I could make somebody feel like they were there. Having your work as part of, a conversation piece between two different nations or different cultures, there's a lot of, I think, pride and fun in thinking that's happening with a piece of your art. And art most certainly is something a lot of people can have conversations over that come from very different backgrounds or very different perspectives. So I would like to think that my artwork is playing a role in the diplomacy, because somebody who is in Latvia and paints trees or paints landscapes is probably feeling and inspired by a lot of the same connections to nature as I am. And so even though if we met each other, we wouldn't understand a word each other is saying, if we both look at our artwork, if they put their artwork and my artwork on the wall, or even just one of mine or theirs, we could both, indulge and appreciate where the other person was coming from. It's like a middle road language that both sides can speak.